going on? Should we get this party started? Let's do a little live stream. Thanks for being here. So I saw this article last night and I couldn't help myself because just the title alone states Denver council members tie rise in hotspots, criminal hotspots, to illegal immigration surge. Uh-oh, somebody is saying the quiet part out loud. Let's get into it. Here we go. Yeah, you don't typically hear the council members actually talking about, okay, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And I've been able to kind of tie some of the pieces together because even the council members aren't talking about specific criminal activity. But if you're in Denver, you've been following some of the news stories. There's some wacky stuff going on. And when they describe hotspots, that means it's not the most crime, but it's an area that hasn't typically had a lot of crime or has had less crime. And all of a sudden you've got a spike. It's just going up, right? And there's a number of incidents. If you type in Denver criminal activity recent, there's some crazy stories going on. And we'll get into one of those that's particularly like, ugh. Yeah, wild stuff. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to bring up, let's see here. There we go. Yeah, this is our story from the Denver Gazette. They're putting out some pretty good stuff. So can you guys read all that? Yeah, I think so. A pair of Denver council members on Wednesday implied that the surge in illegal immigration over the past 18 months is linked to an increase in crime in some neighborhoods they represent. Really? Shocking. Wow. Didn't see that one coming, right? We have literally covered Denver's crisis deepens. Double murder and crime calls surge 2,900% at homeless shelter. Crime calls up 2,900%. A hotel converted to homeless shelter in Denver. So, not shocking here, is it? No. I mean, this is something that we just know is happening. But council members Amanda Sawyer and Stacie Gilmore, they shared anecdotal stories of crimes occurring in hotspots in their respective districts during a committee hearing. Both law enforcement and city officials, including the Johnston administration, Mike Johnston, mayor of Denver, they used the phrase hotspot to denote an area with a spiking crime rate. The city, for example, earlier designated 5 areas as hotspots, places that by design will be getting law enforcement's focus in the administration's campaign to curb gun-related crimes. You know what? I think we need to do some kind of deal where we say gun violence, gun-related crimes, and convert that into person-on-person crimes to just really get the idea that guns aren't shooting themselves. People are shooting other people. Let's start that initiative, right? Because that's really it's not guns. It's people that are pulling the triggers on guns. Yeah. So anyway, I diverge. The specific areas are not necessarily the most violent places in the city, but had experienced a significant increase in violence over the past year. Sawyer and Gilmore did not say where exactly the hotspots are in their districts. The two council members also did not say outright that the immigrants who traveled to Denver after illegally crossing the United States-Mexico border were responsible for the spike in crimes. But here is the crux. Here's the moment. But the implication was apparent. Yeah, these people are living in districts where this stuff is actually going on, and they're experiencing it, and they are saying the quiet part out loud. Hey, with all these illegals that have come into our community, and Denver has taken on, pound for pound, Denver has taken on probably as many as any of the other big cities. They haven't taken on the actual numbers that others have, but for a city their size, they have, they've really punched up. Nice going. Taking money from the police department and giving it to the illegal immigrants. That's a smooth move. And then you wonder why you've got these, crime stories going on, And you've got council members going, yeah, there's a spike in crime. The vast majority of people who are entering our program are fantastic humans who want a better life, Sawyer said. All right, that's the sidestep. Not all of them. And we know that's the case because it's happening in District 5. There is right now no mechanism to be able to recognize and identify when that is a problem and make changes except to go to the police, Sawyer said. Gilmore and Sawyer raised their worries during a public safety meeting in which council members learned about 3 immigration-related contracts totaling roughly $17 million. So you're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars bringing in all these people who their first action in the United States was to commit a felony by not crossing it, the points of entry into the United States where they should, but going somewhere else. So, calling them illegals is not a stretch, right? This is just not a stretch. So that happens. And then, not all of them are bad. Okay. All right. But some of them are. How about these folks right here? So we've got, can't read that. Very traumatizing. Family shares video of violent robbery involving multiple victims. I'm not going to show even the pictures because this one's pretty bad. Let's see if I'm going to scale this down. See this. Yeah, that's close enough. The shop Joyeria El Ruby is family owned and operated and has been in Denver for 24 years, but the owners became victims of a violent robbery on Monday. This was June 26th. So, a couple of weeks ago. Just before 2 p.m. Monday, Mima Munoz said a man came into the shop and pretended to be shopping. She said a few minutes later, 3 more men came in the front door and entered the cage area of the shop. Munoz said something did not feel right. She asked the 3 men to take off their sunglasses and hats, to which they agreed. But within a matter of seconds of getting them in, things turned violent. They just went crazy. They stole a whole bunch of stuff, stole a bunch of jewelry, bags full with jewelry, goods. And they had an 18-month-old son. And you've got a bunch of kids, from the family running this business. I mean, it was a straight up robbery. Nobody's saying, and then I think they arrested a couple in El Paso, Texas. They're still looking for a number of them. But this is an example of the criminal activity that's going on, and folks know it. So, these council members just basically saying the quiet part out loud. Yeah, this is happening. So there's no mechanism to be able to recognize and identify. Okay, yep. So you got to go to the police. This isn't working out well. And you know what? This is what Denver gets. You virtue signal that you're a sanctuary city and you're going to go down this road and you're going to, you're bringing this on upon yourself. So these hotspots, yeah, that's to be expected, right? We've seen it in New York City. We've seen it anywhere. We've seen it in Chicago. I mean, some of the crime incidents in Chicago where they had the couple of big tents, and they've gotten rid of those because, if we have them open, people will come and use them, and we can't have that. Denver pushing all the illegals basically out. Everybody's kicking the illegals out right now from housing. They're shutting that down because they realized what a disaster that was. It's basically telling people that they could come and have all kinds of resources. And then you've got an element of just some of the folks that aren't exactly upstanding citizens. One of the things that our fearless leader, Joe Biden, he's coming up with I think it's, what entity was it? Which organization? Department of Justice, I think, or whomever names the organizations. They are literally coming out and saying the Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, they are a criminal organization with a multinational, whatever that designation is. They're bad guys. It's like, okay, yeah, we kind of been talking about that for a few years now. And so many of them are coming illegally into the country, into the United States, through the southern border. This is not shocking. We've known this is happening for a long, long time. They're in Portland. I haven't seen any exact mentions of being here in Seattle, but if you're a massive multinational gang affiliated organization from Venezuela. And if you're in Portland, why wouldn't you be in Seattle? So that's pretty much the entire West Coast, right? And they're pocketed all over the United States. So now Biden's going to get tough on them, right? Biden's just going to get tough on them. So Sawyer asked Sarah Plastino, director of Johnston administration's response to the illegal immigration crisis, what measures are built into the 3 contracts and, broadly speaking, in the city's program that seeks to help immigrants find work in Denver to discourage and prevent crime. Now, this becomes really good here. This is good stuff. You want to pay attention here. Rest of my stuff, yeah, right. Immigrants sign a code of conduct. So they sign a piece of paper when they enroll in the jobs program, promising not to engage in criminal behavior. Oh, you're going to make a promise. So Tren de Aragua is going to come and they need a job. They want to be legit. They're just going to sign a little document and I promise to be a good person if I get a job in Denver. There's also a requirement to comply with a good neighbor agreement, she added. So you got to sign 2 documents and then, we'll give you a job. Doesn't care. We don't really care who you are. But, you could be anybody. We don't know. That's the thing, right? So this is the filtering system that Denver has when they're bringing in millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of incentives to fund the illegal immigrants in their city. They're having them sign a document promising to be good people. Okay. All right. Everybody has received a detailed explanation of those requirements for the program. And we also have a system whereby we can, if necessary, eject someone from the program for violations of those rules. Okay. So the issue I have here is that means the criminal activity has already happened. It's a post-activity type deal, right? Okay. If it gets really bad, we'll kick them out. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do anything along those lines. This is literally, so you've got known criminal activity, and here's what you're going to do to prevent it. You're going to have people sign a document saying, I promise to be good. I won't cause crime in the area. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. And the notion is that everybody's a good human being. Everybody's going to try their best. Well, we know that not to be true. I mean, we just saw an example of a pretty brazen crime that happened at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, broad daylight crime. And it's because they know they can get away with it, because you got knuckleheads running cities like this who are convinced that, all right, here's what we're going to do to stop that criminal behavior. We're going to have them sign a document. Yeah. I mean, that's really going to get somewhere. This notion that everybody's a good human being, and then when they're not good human beings, like, where did this criminal activity come from? This is shocking. I cannot believe what we've got going on here. This is abhorrent. We in no way, shape, or form condone this kind of criminal activity. That's what you'll see. You'll be like, hey, but wait a minute. You're the one that basically encouraged it, because you've got no repercussions for when these people actually do commit criminal activity, other than, hey, you signed a good behavior, and then whereby we can, if necessary, eject someone from the program for violations of those rules. Really? Really? You're a sanctuary city. You're not even working with ICE. Yeah. So you're going to eject them from, no, you're not. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to do crap. Signing a piece of paper is not enough, Gilmore countered. I would agree with that 100%. It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. And I know Denver, like every other city, is trying to hustle all the illegals in their program through to get jobs, because most of them do want to work. All right, fair enough. But you brought them into the country under this idea of, hey, we're going to bring you in. We're not really going to check you out too much. We're going to give you a court date. And meanwhile, you got to wait a while, and maybe we'll give you a work authorization. But when Denver gives them work authorization, when they get work authorization, now they're off the dole, right? Now they're off the handouts. Hey, here you go. There you go. We're hearing fewer and fewer stories about how this is going because everybody's like, good Lord, there's millions and millions of dollars. And I think it's a known quantity that those amounts of money in communities like Denver, who has a massive budget deficit. Most of these cities have a massive budget deficit because of the way the economics have gone. And you've got a downtown core that, tax base is shrinking. It's not getting bigger. And we've had an economic kind of, a regrouping. I think we've been in a recession the last couple of years. I just do. I mean, that's the way I call it. Whether the gross domestic product or whatever number you want to follow has decreased for 2 quarters consistently, we've been in a downturn. We've been in a downturn for sure. Just nobody wants to talk about it because it's like, oh, it's not going to be good for Biden. That can't happen. How about some of the Democrats now coming out and saying, oh, we can't support him. That guy can barely talk. I mean, I just find it. George Clooney recently. George Clooney came out and said, not really sure how that's going to go. And then Stephanopoulos, ABC, he had the interview, and then somebody asks him on the streets, hey, how do you think Biden's going to do for another 4 years? And George comes up with, I don't think he can make it through 4 years, something along those lines. I mean, we've been saying that forever, that Biden is, he's not cognitively engaged, sometimes more than others, but man, yeah. So anything kind of going against the narrative of, hey, things are getting better. Things are just hunky-dory. Here's an example of exactly what I'm talking about. This is from June 10th, a month ago. Violent crime is down and the U.S. murder rate is plunging, FBI statistics show. Statistically, all of these numbers are going way down. You look at the numbers and you go, because the stories I'm reading don't really indicate that. And the people within these communities, are not indicating that. But I tend to focus on the cities that are having real troubles. And you got Seattle, and you got a bunch of stuff going on. You got Portland, you got LA, you got San Fran, you got Chicago, New York City, where you've got quite a few, illegals. And also you've got Democratic leadership that has been very soft on crime. How about down in Alameda County, Pamela Price, Gruesome Newsom, Gavin Newsom just pulled back an offer for a whole bunch of attorneys to come in and help prosecute criminal activity in Oakland. And the mayor, the district attorney there just couldn't get her act together, Pamela Price. And so Gavin Newsom pulled the offer. That just happened. Pulls the offer and says, we're going to give it to the state. We're not going to give it to the county because you guys can't get your act in gear. And that is what is happening in so many communities. You've got this soft on crime approach, because we believe everybody is a good human being and they need a second chance. And yeah, but there's also a bunch of criminals running around doing criminal stuff. Right. And then see, you gotta have repercussions for them and you got to send them to jail. But we're not really doing that. So signing a piece of paper is not enough. She talked about a robbery that happened in broad daylight. Okay. See that? She offered no specifics. That was the crime I just talked about. 8 people stormed a family-owned business and robbed it in broad daylight. It's going on. Everybody knows it's happening. Denver's police department did not respond to a request for comment. Yeah, no, can't really say anything there. Anything we say is going to be used against us in a court of law. Yeah, not good. How about Oakland's mayor? That's another example of just shenanigans happening 10 ways from Sundays. I mean, her boyfriend, and she came out and she's if you're not familiar with that story, she's not the focus, but she is within the focus of multiple businesses and donors to her campaign, and more specifically, her boyfriend. Her boyfriend, it just came out, is the major focus of the FBI probe. And she had basically said, no, it's not about me. I mean, she didn't say her boyfriend, but she and her boyfriend, it just came out, are the focus of that probe. Their connections to a what is it, waste management or recycling company that's got some links to, the whole thing is just so convoluted. And, you know, Oakland has been the poster child for criminal activity just going through the roof. When you hire a district attorney, when you vote in a district attorney, and when you vote in a mayor that is progressive and soft on crime, what do you think is going to happen? This is all the stuff that happens. So over the past 18 months, some 42,000 immigrants from Central and South America traveled to Denver, forcing the city to cut services and freeze hiring in some areas to come up with the funds to pay for their care. Terrible decision. Terrible decision. I mean, it's virtue signaling at its best. These folks shouldn't be in the country in the first place, period. They came in illegally, period. They'll remain in Mexico, needs to be reinstated. And most of these folks won't qualify for asylum anyway. But you're going to let them come in, you're going to let them work because their court hearing is XYZ years down the road. And in the meantime, they're just running around the United States doing their thing. And in Denver, you've got these hotspots where it's like, oh, hey now, yeah, we got stuff going on. Early in the crisis, Denver decided that they would pay for the immigrants' shelter, food, and onward travel to other cities. A point of tension between Colorado and officials where they ultimately ended up. Before the live stream started, I saw one of the comments from one of our frequent contributors, and you know who you are, thank you. And it was talking about a meeting with Denver mayor's right-hand man, Johnston's right-hand man. He was talking to a group of migrants, and he was saying, all right, you know what? We need you guys to go to like Chicago, or we need you guys to go to New York City. We need you guys to go away from Denver. You got to go away because there's more resources for you there. Way more resources for you there. And he asked for a show of hands. And it literally somebody, some smart ass was in the back taking a video like this, right? And they posted it. And so the mayor's official said, everybody who wants to leave, raise their hand. Nobody did. And he asked, well, who all wants to stay? And they said, Toto, all. We all want to stay. Because Denver's giving out good stuff. But, you know, the fact that they virtue signaled that up front, they're going to take on a whole bunch of illegals, just like New York, just like Chicago. And then it becomes this, whoa, wait a minute. We can't afford all that. This is really expensive. Meanwhile, you've got Republican-run cities who have been saying, no, we don't have the ability with our given budget to make this happen. We can't take any on, period. We'd love to help our fellow human being out, which is the correct answer. Love to help our fellow human being out. But if we don't have the financial means within our community, within our tax base to help them out, then it's a no-go. And you got to go down that road. Instead, these Democrat-run, these big blue cities that have decided to do this, what you hear them complain about continually is, we need federal funding. We need some federal money up in this you know what. You know what I mean? So earlier in the crisis, Denver decided they would pay for the immigrants and all that good stuff. The crisis has cost city taxpayers more than $72 million. Denver has so far received only $17 million in state and federal reimbursements. You know what? You took this on yourself. If you want to play that game, then you got to pay. So what are you doing? Oh, we need some more federal money. I bet you do. I need some federal money. We all need some money, right? They're not handing it out to us. How about in New York City? You got Mayor Eric Adams. He's just continuing that program with the debit cards. I recorded that one a couple of days ago. That might be out. I'm not sure. But yeah, he's just loading up those debit cards with money. He's just sending them out willy-nilly. Originally, he was helping a few hundred families with kids. Now it's being extended to 7,300. I can't remember if it's individuals or families, but they are loading those debit cards up, sending them out, and we'll just see what happens. I mean, I'm sure they're spending all that money on, food and diapers. That's what they always come up with. Spending money on the diapers. I don't. Whole thing. It's like, why are you giving out debit cards when every other entity that wants to help people out by giving them food, they give them food? And if you don't have fresh food, then you figure out another vendor who can make the food a little bit fresher. Period. You can work that out. You can figure that out. You don't need to work the whole entire concept. All right, we're going to go from a food vending company to just handing out some debit cards. They can spend it on whatever they want. They'll get those fresh food and those diapers. Because I'm not buying it, not buying it. So both council members, back to Denver now, they pressed the Johnston administration for answers on its spending on illegal immigration during the Public Safety Committee meeting. Wonder how that went. Sawyer asked how much the 3 contracts would cost the city this year and next, and in total, they will cost $17 million, though some costs will continue into 2025 and be covered in that budget. The numbers that Chicago and the numbers that New York City are covering into 2025, I don't remember what they were, but I remember hearing it. I'm like, ooh, yeah, no wonder they are cutting resources being given out to the illegals right now. No wonder they're doing that, because they are on the hook. As long as these people are in their system, they are on the hook for millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's wild. And meanwhile, they've got a budget deficit. Everybody's got a budget deficit. That's on top of the $70 million that Denver has already spent in its illegal immigration response. Cost of homelessness and illegal immigration, 2 of Denver's biggest crises, have been piling up, and the city spent millions of dollars. They're talking about, yeah, you guys are spending all this money. We don't really know where it's going. What's up with that? So there's been this big back and forth. Johnston administration had overspent by $65 million. I mean, when you talk about a budget for illegals, you don't know what you're going to be spending it on because you've never done it before. Yeah, let's bring all these folks in. This is great for virtue signaling, not good for the budget, but we're just going to do it anyway because we believe, people sign a contract, they're going to be good. And, people are going to work real hard, and then some of them aren't. And that's what we're dealing with today is some of them aren't. And they are creating the hotspots that we're seeing. But, don't look at those numbers. No, I don't want to look at those numbers because, for the most part, we just want a virtue signal that everything's great, everything's hunky-dory, but it's not. Yeah. The numbers of illegals coming across the southern border are way, way down. It's wild. You look at some of that data and you're like, wow. So, I mean, there's no way that Greg Abbott can take complete, credit for that. It's the United States deal with Mexico. Mexico's keeping them in Mexico. They're just putting them on they're putting them on the circular track where they get close to the border. Yeah, we're going to send you back. We're going to send you back all the way to almost Guatemala. And that to me is what's happening. You've got a bunch of people coming in through California and Nevada and Arizona. Not in Texas. Those numbers are way, way down. And we keep talking about, hey, there's going to be a big surge. Maybe there's not. Maybe there's not. Maybe this has, everybody knew, okay, yeah, we really pushed the envelope last Christmas, getting everybody through. 302,000 in the month of December through the southern border. I mean, yeah, just some crazy, crazy numbers. So when asked where the $17 million will come from, Plastino said that the 3 contracts would be paid for as part of the $90 million that the city anticipates spending this year on illegal immigration crisis. It's nutty. And the story just kind of keeps on going to reiterate the facts that, hey, we don't have this money. We're feeling the effects of crime. What are you doing? What do you have going on? We as a community in Montebello are struggling with this added issue. And what are you going to do? How are you going to take care of that? How are you going to fix this? I don't think you are. I think this is just kind of what it is. This is where you sit. And if you're in one of these crazy cities, you're just going to have to deal with it for a while. Because I think a lot of this is out there. It's a known quantity. It's the quiet part out loud. And yet nobody wants to admit this is what's happening. That when you bring in a massive surge of people who you don't know who they are, that criminal activity takes place. So today I kind of wanted to just focus on one of those all right, this is the city of Denver. You've got two council members who appear to be somewhat reasonable, and they're asking some hard questions. And the answers they're getting, it's just like, well, this is what we're doing. This is what you're going to have to deal with, you know. I mean, here's how we resolve that. We have people sign a contract, and if they violate that, then we're going to kick them out. We're just going to boot them. No, you're not. No, you're not. So Denver, unfortunately, on top of everything else you've got going on, the whole homelessness thing and, you know, budget deficits and just, you know, the struggle bus there, increase in crime in areas, because we're being told that crime is decreasing. And, you know, on a national basis, every city, you're seeing those numbers. And I'm kind of looking at that going, all the stories I'm reading and the interviews with people that I'm seeing, you know, you can't count on those as actual data, but the reflection of what's really going on is something different than what's happening in reality. So that's why I was happy to see, hey, you got a hotspot and you think it's due to the illegals? All right. That makes absolute 100% sense to me, because everybody's ignoring that. Everybody's just ignoring this fact. It's like, oh, yeah, some crimes happening, but don't worry. We had them sign a contract to be good people. And we deep down, deep in our hearts, believe that others want to be good people too. And that's just not the case, is it? I mean, the reality is you got to throw some people in jail. And that's not what we're really doing. But there's so many recall campaigns happening out there right now. I think eventually you will see that tide start to turn, because I think you're seeing, you know, the impact of progressive legislature, progressive, how they've handled criminals. Pamela Price in Alameda County in California, she's been so soft that even a bunch of the Democrats are going, she's been so soft on crime that they're like, you know what? We got to do something here. We got to do something. Let's recall her. And you're seeing that across the country in a lot of these cities where, and this is not rocket science, folks. If you give people probation when they should be in prison, they're going to commit another crime. Odds are. So just, you know, there's that. But meanwhile, Denver's having people sign a contract saying, I'll be good. How's that going to work out? Well, we're seeing how that worked out. All right. That's it for me on this one, folks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the live stream. I will catch up with you on the next one. I've got a series of videos coming out on, I'm not going to tell you, but it's a city that is being created as they wanted to create a new school district, and the major city wouldn't let that happen. It's Baton Rouge and St. George. I'm going to be covering that. It's wild stuff. All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. Happy Friday Eve, and I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.